All right, welcome to North Georgia Advocate Podcast, episode 3. Sorry, we've been gone for about 10 days, but we've just been swamped. I'm Chris Dyer, and I'm here with my host.
Viral.
And Viral's got a new baby, and he's having to figure work and baby and all that. And it's a lot of time it takes up, and we just got to try to do this when we can. So, and we're going to try to get on a schedule where we have them out every Friday. And as of right now, we'll probably be going between every 7 to 10 days, and we're going to be pumping out another one hopefully tomorrow with a candidate running for office. And hopefully we're going to have Brandon Reed, who's up running for mayor in Brazelton on, and we'll have it out in the next couple of days. We're scheduled to do it tomorrow, but we'll see how that goes. You just never know the way everything goes. So we will get into a few things now. Let me see. Pull up the agenda that we got going on. We typed it up, and the first thing I want to get into is there is not a surprise. The corruption case for the Board of Assessors got in trouble for meeting before they had a quota or a consensus of more than 3 or more members before the meetings, hashing out and talking about what was going on at the meetings, and that's considered a legal meeting. And
Just like a quorum or something, right?
Yeah, it's a quorum. And Jody White, she reported them to the state, and the Attorney General got involved. And naturally, the state responded and then gave the county 30 days to respond. They came back trying to say that they were not talking about meeting stuff. They were not talking about anything in particular. And then when the third member of the meeting showed up, they decided they had to leave and end the meeting immediately. And that's just doesn't seem that that's what's happened, because in the findings there's up to 7 recorded times that these people were in those sessions directly before the meetings. You don't have those meetings and have your top 2 planning staff members in those meetings with you 7 times.
Right.
And you knew they were going to come up with something, but it's not over. The Attorney General, from what I understand and what I've heard from other people, they're going to be investigating this a little bit harder. So, I don't know. I mean, did any of that surprise you, Bill?
No, not at all. I mean, it's kind of what we expected as far as initial response, but looks like they found more times than just this one particular time where they've met prior to meetings and whatnot. So maybe that's a little bit more evidence that this has been going on. It's a pattern. It's not like this is a one-off thing.
Yeah. And so there's the arrogant that they were doing it in the same building.
Yeah.
At least
I mean, that's the problem of being in a position so long that you get so comfortable.
Yeah.
Potentially breaking laws. So.
And it was like you pulled up, you talked about before when this first started, with Shannon Reed's on the Board of Assessors. He's the only one that wasn't.
No, you're talking about the Planning Commission. Yeah, Shannon, that wasn't part of it, but he's the only one that wasn't appointed by who we consider.
And he was the one that did everything by protocol and helped report the issue. And he's standing his ground, and I'm glad to see he's come out and stated publicly that this is wrong, and something's going on. He's not accused anybody of wrongdoing, but he just said something's not right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Kudos to him for stepping up. And
yeah, I mean, the bottom line is at least go across the street to the freaking Waffle House and sit down and eat dinner or something, a pre-meal snack if you want to meet and talk about the stuff. I mean, don't do it in the same building.
Yeah, but that's what, again, you get so comfortable being in that position that, and it's never been an issue before. So, yeah.
And then we'll know more about that in the next 30 days. Hopefully, we can get this settled by Christmas, by the end of the year, because at the beginning of next year, we're going to have new appointees going on the tax assessors board, and no telling what's going to go on with this planning commission.
Yeah.
And
Chris, what do you expect the outcome to be, though? Like, did they find wrongdoings between, let's just say, the folks that are accused, and they were in fact talking about the agenda topics? What's your expected outcome out of this? Let's just say the AG finds hard evidence against all of them. What happens to that? Because one of them's running for commission seat. So, like, at that point, is he potentially forced to not and drop out?
I think that in my opinion, Hunt's going to be Hunt and Braswell. That's 2 times they've been embroiled in controversy in the last three months. And especially the commissioner, the head of it, Braswell, he's, we all know who he works for and what his agenda. They come out and said he personally didn't have a conflict of interest in the ethics charges filed against him with the Cagle Road stuff.
Yeah, Cagle Road stuff, and
that was just him personally. It's not over with, but
I mean, but those are meetings you could, I'm not accusing. Well, I don't know what the legal way of saying this is going to be, but these folks are having, if you work for Norton, you're the VP of Commercial Norton, and then you have an agent for Commercial Norton. You're bound to talk about it. It's not like you're not going to talk about a prospective deal.
Especially when you're that high up, it's not like he's just a normal. He's not a rank and file agent. Now, if we were just working as a real estate agent, that's one thing.
Yeah.
Or an insurance agent, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But not when you're in the upper management.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're gonna.
And I'm not accusing him of any wrongdoing by any means, but the optics don't look good when,
especially when we're going for transparency. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're talking about here, because they've got to gain our trust back.
Yeah.
And it's snowballing on them the whole time through. And I think that Andre, the one that just got appointed, I don't think he knew any better.
I doubt it. I
think he just showed up because everybody said, "Oh, we're meeting at 5:00." And he just said, "Well, can I come or whatever?" I don't think he knew. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
But I think he'll be the one that gets the pass, per se.
Yeah,
hopefully. I think the other ones they'll have to resign, or the commission will have to kick them off.
I don't know that I see that happening.
That's what I think is going to happen, and I think that's what should happen, because you can't.
What about the staff, though, at this point, too? I feel like the staff should know better, especially somebody that's been in the planning and zoning department for quite a bit of time.
Long time. The staff knew better.
And that would hurt the county more than anything. I think Beth is a huge asset to this county. Potentially losing her, I think, wrongdoing's wrongdoing, but at the same time, losing somebody of her skill set and you know, the experience that she has, that would be a pretty big loss,
Yeah.
in my opinion, anyways,
And
to the county.
you know, and I think that the staff's kind of got out. We were just doing what our bosses told us to do.
Sure.
But at the same time, the staff also has their own rules. It's got to go through the staff before it gets to the planning commission.
Right.
So they
So is the planning
really,
commission, the planning and zoning's boss? Who's exactly their boss?
well, you know, they're
But they have some pull. I understand what you're saying. They have some pull
they're
as far
not
as some.
on paper. They're not their boss, but
Right.
by hierarchy, you know, it's kind
Sure.
of they're the staff. They're not the commissioner.
Sure.
You
Sure.
know, and that's how the stepping order usually works.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's where I'm coming up with that because I mean, if you're on the staff, you usually do what they ask of you,
Sure.
and you get everything ready for the meetings, and you get it for them, and
Right. Yeah. No.
so,
That makes sense.
and, you know, and I've talked to a few of the people running for commission, and hopefully, I don't understand what the planning commission's there for anyway. If you go through the staff, then the commission, then the board of commissioners, I just don't get it. If the planning commission votes something down unanimously, it should never make it to the to the board of commissioners. You know, but that's a different animal. That's just, it seems to me it's wasted tax money.
Absolutely. Well, so you know that's been as the last few months that I've been going to some of these meetings and stuff. You know, I've gone to planning commission meetings and then the board of commission meetings, and I've seen certain items that have gotten approved and denied by the planning commission go the opposite way when they reach the board of commissioners, and I fully understand that, you know, board of commissioners has final say in it, and in between the two, as far as what is it, you know, there's usually about a month, 2 weeks to a month gap
Yeah.
between when you go see the planning commission and then the board of commissioners. If you get denied, usually you work some things out and you meet with the board of or your district's commissioner and try to resolve a few things and figure out concerns that got you denied in the first place, and then try to get that final approval. But then what makes me question the entire planning commission's existence is when you have the planning staff, they look through the entire code and they say, okay, cool, it meets everything as far, you know, and we recommend approval. Planning commission unanimously approves it, and then it gets to the board of commissioners and they don't even discuss the application after the applicant speaks. And I'll give you an example. The young Hispanic gentleman that was trying to do a car shop or mechanic shop on Bronzebridge Road next to Select Pest Services and the Hardman dealership or whatever. Staff approved it, or you know, recommended approval. Planning commission unanimously approved it. Gets to the board of commissioners, and the commissioner for that district, Jeff Stowe's, not even there that day. And then they deny it. They hear the applicants, you know, in favor of and whatnot, and then Kathy talks about it for a second, just says, you know, Jeff's told me to kind of vote this way and he didn't want it, and da 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 da, boom, it gets declined. And I'm just sitting there in watching this and just like, what is the purpose of the planning staff? Why are we paying, you know, almost $500,000 in salaries to the planning staff, and then why are we wasting taxpayer money on electricity, on air conditioning, and all the things for the planning commission to even have these meetings if you're going to turn around and do something like this?
Yeah.
Well,
Plus,
it makes no sense.
Plus, they get a salary.
Yeah.
You know, and what baffles me about it is each commissioner appoints a
Exactly. Yeah. You appointed them for a reason.
Why are they not working in concert with each other? You figure that if they denied it on the planning, that they'd deny it on that the planning commission and the board of commissioners, the people. I'm not saying they all 10 of them got to get in a room and play kumbaya or nothing, you know.
Right.
But you'd at least talk to the person that appointed you, and y'all would be on the same page.
like, hey, why did you approve this? Hey, why did you not approve this? Maybe
I
they
know.
do, and they just said, yeah, I can't get this passed. Okay.
And that's what baffles me is how some of this stuff is unanimously denied on the planning, then unanimously approved on the board of commissioners.
Right.
I mean, that's just, it makes you think, what the heck's going on here? What's going
Yeah.
on within that 2 to 4 week period?
Yeah.
So we're going to find out a lot on that in the next
It's a hot subject.
30 to 60 days. And I think it's going to get a little bit worse because the AG is going to end up investigating, I think. And
yeah, that's the thing. I don't have too much hope for it. Strictly just because I've seen these folks, they protect themselves, and
well, they do.
It's a domino thing. And I if I was in their position, I would kind of maybe more than likely do it the same way, which is
Deny.
if I well no I'm the investigation part.
Oh yeah.
Is and not finding anything per se is because you find it's a domino effect because you set a precedent. Now if you had any kind of integrity, you would do it the right way and say, whoa, you guys were doing this, breaking the law, and then you need to resign, you need to drop out of your commission race because that it just doesn't make sense for you to continue running. But they're going to protect themselves and they're going to protect their own, which is government folks. So because we saw that with the what is it, the Hall County solicitor.
Yeah.
She got a slap on the wrist.
She got a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
We knew that was coming, and you hoped it wasn't, but you knew that was coming. And
yeah,
this is nowhere near as bad as that. But I've heard from talking to a few people in the know that Gibbs is doing his best to handle this before the AG has a chance to handle it.
Right.
Because you never know what's going to happen when the AG comes. That needs to come in and clean freaking house. And say that's right.
And maybe that's what's needed.
Oh yeah,
I think that might just be what's needed. Yeah.
I mean, because the AG's got the power to pretty much do whatever the heck he wants. And he can come in and he can put down sanctions or now if this was the board of commissioners, that may be a possibility, but not with the planning. I mean, I think they may make an example out of one or two, hopefully, or if Gibbs can get them to resign.
Yeah.
And end it quick, and do things because there's going to be a few changes on the tax assessors board at the beginning of the year, and this would be a perfect time to have some changes on the planning board.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and then another thing I want to quick hit on again is in the corruption area. Josh Clark, who got beat by Drew Eccles, he got caught trying to get Homestead in Gwinnett and Hall County. Eccles himself caught him because he had people go in and rent the house that Clark was claiming that he lived in as a VRBO. He's renting the house out that he owns in Hall County as a VRBO.
Is it listed on there?
He's not even living in it. He's living in Gwinnett County.
Yeah. And
he's back in the race. His brother's the representative now, but he's running for some kind of office and, that's for the federal government, I think, or lieutenant governor or something. I mean, it's a higher office, and he's probably going to end up filling that seat because most people they just see the last name, they'll just vote for it,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, kind of like that movie, The Distinguished Gentleman, when Eddie Murphy was a nobody and had the same name as the senator who just died and he got elected.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it goes in reality. So it's going to be interesting to see if anybody jumps on the stuff that Eccles already exposed last year in the.
Is he running for us, Georgia seat?
Yeah,
or
Georgia House 100, District 100.
Okay.
Out of Buford.
So for Georgia legislator.
Yes, for Georgia legislator, yeah, because Buford encompasses part of Hall, Gwinnett. So that will affect at least some of the people in South Hall County.
That is very interesting.
Especially the way Buford likes to annex land in. They're going to keep coming as far north as they can.
Hmm.
until the Hall County government stops it. And also, we had the meeting at Long Street last week. Nobody knew anything about.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about that. I
I
started
mean,
seeing it on my Facebook. It started popping up on my Facebook, I would say a day after it happened, and I started seeing we're going to be at Long Street, da 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 at this time, and yeah.
and it was Burt Jones and his group of senators that are wanting to get rid of the income tax, which is perfectly fine with me.
Yeah, that's
And
it. It just feels more like a
but
little
why did
carrot.
we not promote that? And they talked about, oh, we're talking to Georgia voters. We're talking to the rank and file Georgia voters. Hell no, you ain't. Everybody in the newspaper and the Access WDUN articles, everybody they interviewed in those articles, and you could look at the pictures and the videos. Nothing against the elderly, trust me. Both my parents, but those people aren't paying income taxes anyway.
Right.
And 90% of the time, I mean,
Yeah.
most people that age are not
I mean,
working.
most of them are retired at this point.
Yeah, they're
They don't have
retired,
an income. Yeah.
and they're
But
not.
it's a great way to pander for votes, though. It's
Yeah,
essentially what it is.
I mean, why didn't they rent the Civic Center out and give us a couple of months?
Heck, I mean,
Or a
even a couple
month
of
or
weeks
so,
notice. Even
just
a
two
couple
or
of weeks
three
notice.
weeks to let people know, so we
Yeah.
could send people out there
Yeah.
instead of just popping up at Long Street.
Well, because then you know what's going to end up happening is people like you and me show up asking some tough questions that they don't necessarily want to answer.
Exactly.
So
I don't mind. They talk about getting rid of the income tax, but then they turn around, oh, we got to. It'd save Georgians so much money. Yeah, but you jerks implemented sales tax on everything you buy online just 2 years ago when you're supposed to be the party of cutting taxes.
it's a fake Republicans party here in the state of
Yeah, I
Georgia. I
mean,
think
they doubled licensing fees. They doubled, I mean, all a license is or a permit is, that's a tax.
yeah.
It's just named something else. It's a tax.
I think
You know,
MTG majority said it the best in my opinion. It's our state's run by undercover Democrats. And I'm not again. I'm not a Democrat or Republican type person. I think they all pretty much just suck. But what Republicans are supposed to be, supposed to stand for and whatnot, Georgia doesn't feel like that
yeah.
90% of the time.
Well, and everybody wants to bash the libertarians for being off the wall and not legitimate. But the problem is, all these Republicans claim to be libertarians, but they don't do anything when they've got the chance to do it.
Yeah,
They've got the chance to prove that they are libertarians.
but that's the issue is letting go of that power. These folks aren't in the business of letting go of power. So when you reduce taxes, you reduce burden on the people and the residents of the state of Georgia, you're ultimately reducing a lot of your power and your control, which 99% of politicians don't want to do. There's a handful that actually want to see the people get unburdened.
Right. And you got people with good intentions go to the state government, and I'm not even going to get to the federal because they're a lost cause, but we still can make a difference at the federal and at this local and the state level. But they go to these as soon as they need something passed for their local district, and they make a deal with the leaders in charge, the swamp per se.
Mm-hmm.
Then as soon as you make that deal and you owe them a favor, they've got you.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got you. They've got their hooks in you, and they'll never get rid of it. They'll never let loose.
Right.
And that's the problem. You got to have people kind of like, I'm going to mention it, like Rand Paul and Thomas Massey, who's getting vilified by MAGA right now because they stand on constitutional principles. They hold their guns and they don't cater. And that's what we've got to have at the state and local level. People to get in and hold to their morals and their ethics and do what they say they're going to do.
I get lost in the sauce on some of this. I just because you see it, it's so blatant. The corruption's so blatant, and you got somebody like Massey that's constantly pro America first, like by a million miles than Trump himself when it comes to the MAGA movement. And Rand Paul and Thomas Massey both defended him when the Biden administration was, persecuting him. And that, like this, and this is the really, really scummy part of politics. Is that's all Trump's doing. He's playing politics, and I get it. That's part of the game. But I think that's what this country is kind of sick and tired of at this point too. And I think the younger generation is sick and tired of it. I think it took that first Trump term to kind of wake people up and like, whoa, wait a second, what's going on? Let's change it. Everybody bought into the Biden BS. All right, cool, let's change it. And then it's the same thing, just in a different form.
Oh, yeah. And he don't care now because he knows he can't be elected again. So
exactly. And like I feel like the mask is fully just undone at this point, and I'm gonna do anything and everything because I don't care anymore. I'm gonna run.
I'm gonna dare them to stop me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, and
I mean the corruption on I see it in the crypto space, being in the industry and everything. I see it, the blatant corruption, the market manipulation in the stock market too. With the tariff news and and that's the thing about the crypto space too, is like it's all public. It's not like the stock market where you hide behind a broker and like people don't see your trades and stuff. Crypto's an open ledger. Yeah. So when we see a fresh account being created or a fresh digital wallet being created, being funded with millions 30 minutes before the China tariffs are announced, there's a handful of people that have access to that information.
Yeah.
Before it drops.
No doubt.
So for somebody to do that and then they what we call leverage long in the business, leverage long or leverage short, meaning if you got $1 million in the account, you can use that $1 million to short $100 million worth of Bitcoin or of Ethereum or the entire crypto market as a whole. You don't do something like that with $1 million or $100 million unless you know what's coming down the pipeline in about 30 minutes.
Yeah, no doubt.
So it's like, yeah, and again, a handful of people got access to that kind of information. So who is it? And exactly. It's hard to not, especially with all the stuff that they're doing in the crypto space. With World Liberty Fi and the stable coin, the Trump coin, the Milani coin, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
Who is it?
And especially now where you don't have to buy crypto itself. You don't have to just buy Bitcoin. You can go in and you can just buy kind of like a small portfolio of you can buy fractions of certain things now, like derivatives.
Right.
You don't have to invest in Bitcoin itself. You can go through a broker now and you can just invest in, because the U.S. government started regulating a lot of it. And
you're talking about the ETFs and stuff. So
ETFs and stuff.
Yeah.
And and they kind of, it's a way for them to kind of keep a lot of their money safe, because you're not going to see big drops and rises. And when you get into all that, it's just, and the government getting involved in all this, it kind of, I'm not trying to say that there doesn't need to be some kind of a watchdog out there. I'm just saying it's kind of dangerous because they don't really know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, it's a form of just being in the space again and following the financial space. They're talking about as a possible way for us to devalue our dollar and our debt at the same time, where that national debt burden isn't as big as a $38 trillion number looks like. Right. So I believe financial engineering at its finest, and that's what they're kind of trying to work on is issuing stable coins in the form of US dollars.
Yeah.
And then potentially backing the dollar with some Bitcoin or with some gold or one or the other, and maybe
you got the Federal Reserve wanting to come up with their own digital currency, and if the federal government really wanted to get serious about Bitcoin, they wouldn't be prosecuting these people that own Binance and these other companies. They'd be hiring them and bringing them on board.
Yeah.
If they want to get serious about it.
Well, I mean, it's a competition. It's direct competition to the Fed, and you don't, that's the thing about the government. They don't like competition.
But that's the thing about it is the Fed is not really a part of the government. The U.S. government can fire them at any time and take our currency back.
Right, but
they just
the influence, the influence though is very strong.
Yeah.
When you can print unlimited amount of money to buy people out, you got pretty much all the power in the world.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
And
whether you're an official government entity or not doesn't really matter. If I can go buy out Trump or some of his cabinet members for 50 million or 100 million at the press of a button, that's a lot of power. So
and that's why you don't try to rock the boat with none of these Federal Reserve chairs. Not just the chair, but
central banks in general.
Well, they've got the Federal Reserve branches, and they got one in Atlanta, one in Philadelphia, one in St. Louis, one in San Francisco, one in Denver. They got one in every region of the country, and you just don't mess with these people. They've made it pretty much known that you don't mess with them.
Yeah. And there's a few people who have in the past, and they've been unalived. So they make it pretty.
Oh, yeah. I mean, hell, how many of them? We've had a couple of them already killed. A couple of them committed suicide because they're ruining their lives. And I mean, it's just crazy how they manipulate these people. I mean, it's just, but that's a different day. I mean, it's scary. We got to get away from the Federal Reserve or at least get them in check somehow.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand. They're the reason for all this inflation. Well, and it's hard to get them to understand.
Well, that's the other thing too, whether it's the Fed or whether it's just politicians that are like hooked on printing that money like it's like cocaine. It's an addiction to continuously satisfy your constituents in the easiest way possible, because you don't want to go through that 2 years of like not intervening any kind of economic crisis or anything like that, when you can just access the Fed. Hey, we need a $1 trillion bailout, and then boom, everything's great tomorrow. So it's that stimulus.
And imagine how bad it would be if the Fed wasn't writing off trillions a month in interest, just letting it fall off the books. And what people don't understand is the rich keep getting richer because they don't have cash.
They got assets.
They have assets. They're smart enough to know. They're not smart enough to know. They were just lucky enough to be successful, that they know that the more money it's printed, the less valuable their cash is. Well,
I think they understand that. They understand the way the game works. And the structure of it and how you exploit it.
And the everyday person, it hurts bad because they live on cash. They don't have the assets.
Yeah.
And people don't understand prices never go up and down. It's the value of the dollar. It's how much of this product will $1 buy.
Right.
But that's a whole nother episode. We'll get into that. I can go on that all night.
What do we got next?
Another thing that we heard the other day was Jerry Ramos. He was the Democratic candidate for sheriff against Couch the last election. He got beat, and which was expected. Hall County is 80% Republican. But the only reason he ran as a Democrat was he knew he couldn't get the Republican seat. He's running as an independent. He's from Puerto Rico. His family he's a good guy. He's lived here his whole life. I've talked to him personally a few times, and he's pro Second Amendment. He's a. I'm not wanting to paint him a Republican because he's not. He is a true old school conservative, which there's no conservatives left in the GOP anymore. They're just less liberal than the Democrats.
They're fake conservatives.
Yeah, and he's a good guy. Just listen to his message. He runs a charity here in Hall County, the Civic Guardians of Northeast Georgia, and they help underprivileged families and kids. They give away free backpacks before school starts, all school supplies. They have tons of events. They have it at Butler Center over there at Butler Park.
Yeah.
And they have done a wonderful job helping the community in general. It's not just Hispanics, it's blacks, it's whites. It's anybody that needs it.
Right.
You just go to their events and you'll get what you want. And they let vendors come in and set up booths and help them and do stuff. And on November the 15th, if you and your kids need clothes, they're having a free shopping day over at the old Holiday Hall and the Holiday Inn across from Cookout. And in the parking lots over there, they're going to have a big thing going on to where you just bring your shopping bags and you just get what you need. It's a good time. It's fixing to start getting cold. You can probably get jackets and sweaters and sweatshirts and jeans and whatever you need.
Does this mostly work on donations for Jerry, or
Yes.
is it who's funding all this?
It's all donations. People donating clothes, and
nice.
And they've been around a couple of years now, and they get some grants and stuff from large companies, and because all these companies, they give grants to nonprofits.
Right.
You can apply for grants and things, and they get money from these grants to help them fund some of this stuff.
Sure.
But they mostly work off of donations, and it's a good thing. It's going to last from 10 to 2 on the 15th, or it may end earlier if they run out of clothes and stuff. So
it's on November the 15th.
Huh?
It's on November the 15th.
Yeah, November 15th. Yeah, it's going to be a good thing. And I'm sure if it's like most of their stuff, they may have a few bouncy houses out there for the kids, and probably have some vendors and refreshments or whatever. I'm not sure, but that's how they usually run their stuff. They do it first class. And what's not ironic, but Jody White, who's been fighting hard and filing all these ethics complaints against the Board of Commissioners, the Planning Commission, and fighting all the people, she is going to be Jerry's campaign manager.
Okay, nice.
So, she's got somebody. He's got somebody that he knows that'll stand up for what's ethically right, got the same morals, and anything.
Do you think he's got a chance at running as an independent?
Yes, and he's definitely running as an independent. He's already filed the paperwork. He's got all his ducks in a row. They're ready to go.
So, but do you think he's got a chance of winning in Hall County as an independent?
That's the question. The Republicans are so deep-seated and couch. He should have. The GOP had that guy that ran against him. I can't remember his name. He was ex-FBI, a true conservative, really wanted to come in and make change. He only got like 15% of the Republican vote in the primary. And Couch beat Jerry bad in the general election because mainly I think because he was on the Democratic ticket. They didn't know what his message was.
Right. Well, I mean, they don't want to listen at that point. A lot of these
No.
folks that are been Republican, if they see an R or a D, and that's all they're really going by.
Yeah. If they see
Most
a
of them
D by
don't
your
even look at
name,
it.
yeah, they see a D by your name, they're not going to pay attention.
Yeah. Well, not even that. Even the R's, they're not necessarily
Yeah.
looking at their message or what they're about or anything like that. If it's an election, well, obviously the general election, there's only one Republican, one Democrat, right? Or is there
Yeah.
multiple in the general?
Well, you can have independents, but you can have third party candidates if you qualify. And it's
I
hard.
didn't know. I didn't know that even on local level elections there were primaries. Like there's only going to be one person's
Yeah,
name on the
no. If
general
an
ticket.
independent is in like a libertarian's in the field, like for sheriff, there's a libertarian candidate too. He didn't get like 1% of the vote. I mean, if I'm thinking right, but I know there was a libertarian candidate for almost every office in the state, and some of them get 10 to 15%, some of them get 1 or 2%. And like the libertarian candidate cost Herschel Walker against John Ossoff, but
That's the best that GOP could offer up against Austin.
oh yeah, it's
Oh my
just,
God.
but I think with Jerry running as an independent, he's got a chance to get his message out there.
Sure.
Because they're not going to tune him out. And there's nothing against the Democrats, but since
What's a dirty word in
this town?
well, not in this town, but in this country. If you're in the deep South or in a heavily Republican area, you call somebody a Democrat almost like an insult. So it's a dirty word.
Yeah, it's like a racial slur.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. I mean, you can't run. And I thought about that too. It's if I decide to run for city council or for the board of commissioners or anything like that, I don't know that, because from an integrity perspective, I don't want to be attached to either of those parties.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't believe in either of those parties. But if you know me well enough by now, I think that I'm a hardcore conservative and probably more Republican than most of these Republicans claim to be. But I don't want my name attached with the R next to it. But I definitely don't want my name with the D attached right next to it either.
Exactly.
So yeah.
In this town, the Democratic Party's been bad since Buster Roper died, and Bill Chandler, that owns Chandler Equipment, he used to be the head of the Democratic Party, and they were pretty strong around here. That's when Nathan Deal used to be a Democrat. Zell Miller and all those guys were Democrats. Zell still was a Democrat, but he was a conservative Democrat. But back when those days, when Bill started getting out of it, those Democrats started moving over to the Republican Party.
Right.
And he hung on for a few years after that, but since then the Democratic Party just been in shambles around here.
Yeah.
How you think Ashley Bell went Republican?
Yeah.
And people like him, the young minorities have even had to swap, from Democrat to Republican to have a chance in this town.
Well, I mean, what Democrats stood for, when I first even came to this country, and it's not the same as it is today. So
it's not.
The word democratic and democracy, they kind of go hand in hand, and they're so far from the meaning of democracy.
Oh yeah.
So that whole message this past election cycle of save our democracy, I'm like, what are you talking about? You guys are the problem with our democracy right now.
Exactly.
So
and I seen where Jeremy Williams for the city of Gainesville superintendent, he got a contract extension, which is probably warranted. He's getting a raise of $260,000, which is still about $50,000 below Will Schofield of Hall County.
Mm-hmm.
And when Williams came in, when my aunt had the school system, Gainesville City school system, she turned it in from a shambles into one of the gyms of the state, and the school system's in great shape. Then the board of education for the city hired that Wanda Creel, who had a good reputation coming in, but she ended up being a nightmare and destroyed the educational system in 4 years, 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And Williams, when he got hired, he had to come in and basically rebuild everything.
Right.
And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve the money. I'm not saying he doesn't, but at the same time, it must be nice to get a raise when so many of your kids are still not reading at grade level. People with learning disabilities are not getting the help they need. And I'm not saying it's Williams' fault. I'm not saying it's anybody's fault, except the federal government and how the educational system's ran. These people's hamstrung.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we can't. I know we got to keep quality people, but you can't keep giving these people $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 counting their benefits. They get houses and cars and their insurance, their life insurance. They probably get $100,000 a year in benefits.
Yeah.
And nothing changed. That's what we talk about. The teachers are the ones that suffer, where the administrators make all the money.
Well, and I think just structurally, it's just not a system that works.
Yeah.
It never has, in my opinion, from just from looking at some of this. It's never a system that's.
They keep moving the goalpost to where these kids. It's great the graduation rate's up, but it's not if you're going by the standards that were 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. You lower the goalpost. Yeah.
Yeah, you move the goalpost, and it's just. And again, I'm not picking on Williams. It's just he's the one that came up and Schofield, we fussed about that for a year. I mean, and it's not just them, it's all administrators. There's probably $2 or $3 million sitting in that building on Green Street.
Yeah.
In salaries and benefits. And,
well, when you have unchecked powers of taxing the heck out of people and the residents, and if you don't pay your taxes, your houses or your properties going to the courthouse steps, you do whatever you want. Again, people in these positions, they get power hungry and they get entitled.
Yeah. And and what people don't understand, they never own their property. You own the building on top of the property.
Right.
Because if you don't pay your property taxes, you'll find out how quick you don't really own your property.
Right.
And that's not right. But, and I'm not jumping on the city school system. I've got friends that are on their board of education and office, and I'm not trashing anybody. I'm just saying that, you look at those numbers and you look at the teachers' numbers and and everybody knows that teachers are underpaid, but at the same time, and I understand you got to keep quality people, but there's got to be some improvements coming somewhere.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And our school systems can't keep failing. Georgia's like, 40th in the nation in education or something.
Yeah.
So that's going to be something we get into at the
What's that? Undercover Democratic state. So
yeah,
it makes sense. It makes sense.
And there's some stuff that was brought up at one of the commissioners' meetings last week, the work session, that Tread Siphon and Tim Evans presented plans for the county to let Kings, Hawaiian, and Kubota enter a pilot program. Pilot is pay in lieu of taxes, payments in lieu of taxes. Somehow there's a sustenance, there's a usufruct. That's not a cuss word, I promise. it's called a usufruct, where the state can let somebody use the land up to 5 years and make profit off of it, while the property owner doesn't have to pay taxes on it. It's
Interesting.
basically a tax-free situation up to 5 years at a time. And instead of that happening, to keep the businesses in Hall County or in this area, they're wanting to enter an agreement to get a payment from them up front in lieu of the taxes that they may not have to pay.
Gotcha.
And I'm still trying to wrap my head around how this can be possible for a company that does companies that do hundreds of millions of dollars in business. Why they wouldn't be held to corporate taxes. They've already got buildings here in Hall County. They're not going to move their whole corporation somewhere else.
I mean, especially Kubota, as much money as has been invested.
They've been here
Yes.
40 years.
Yeah, they're not going
And-
anywhere. Their
and
entire
King-
workforce is here.
Yeah, and King's Hawaiian's not. They basically moved their whole mainland production to Hall County. I mean,
Right.
I understand you want to be business friendly, but this is just something that our listeners and we need to do some more digging into, because this pilot, it just doesn't sound like that. And that's usufruct law. That doesn't see, I just don't see how this could be jive, because that usufruct is basically, from the research I've done a little bit, is non-profits are the one that basically use it. That's like, say, if I own a big warehouse and a nonprofit wants to come in and use it, I don't have to sell the property to them. I can let them use it. And as long as they're using it, I don't have to pay the taxes on it. It's basically, they're giving me a rate for
Letting them use the
doing this
land.
nonprofit a favor by letting them use the property,
So is it essentially Kubota's going to let the government, Hall County government, use their land, or vice versa?
or vice versa. Say the landowners, and this kind of goes into what we found out earlier today. We're not going to bring up about some stuff in that area.
It looks like this device isn't registered.
Hush,
For help, go to your Alexa app.
Alexa, hush. And if they can't work out a deal with the homeowner or the property owner, they may try to work out a usufruct deal to where Kubota can use that land up to 5 years or King's Hawaiian can use that land up to 5 years until a deal can be worked out.
Gotcha.
Or
Yeah.
something like that. I mean, that would be the only way I would think it could work.
Mm-hmm. That would certainly make sense.
So, I mean, this is just stuff that they're bringing up, stuff that you got to be deep into it to find stuff out. Like, I'm not saying we're deep into it, but you've got this is stuff that you don't hear about every day.
Right. Well, I mean, the newspaper's not going to pick this up.
No, they're not going to cover it. And, that's just stuff that we've got to, and all this is being done through the Chamber of Commerce. The ones who are pushing for SPLOST and everything else. And don't get me wrong, Chamber of Commerce is great for Hall County and Gainesville, and it does brings in a lot of business and does a lot of good things. And here we got, and another thing is we hear that one of the commissioners may be bringing in somebody from our recent past and put them on possibly on the tax assessor's board. We're talking about Richard Higgins, who just left office when David Gibbs took over, when he lost in the election. So for the people that thought you may be done with him, well, you may not.
And this is what I mean. It's like that control, letting go of that control and the power and whatnot. Once you have it and you've had it for so long.
Yeah. And why can't these people just ride off into the sunset?
Yeah.
And that's
it's like clearly people in Hall County were done with you when you didn't get elected.
I can understand when Hall County was small, but we've got 300 something thousand people in Hall County now.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got more people than ever want to run for office. You know, it's time we got to get people coming out and going to the vote, to the polls, and getting these people out of office that have been lifetime or been in there 3, 4, 5, 6 times, And if nobody heard, I wanted to mention that Danny Dunnigan, the former mayor of Gainesville, he died last week, just a month after he resigned from the city council. So whatever he had, that hit him hard.
Yeah.
And I hate to hear that. From all accounts, he was a good dude. I didn't agree with everything he did, but what he did, he always had what he thought was the best interest of Gainesville, in the area in mind.
Yeah, the I would say about an hour and a half of meeting him, talking to him about a project that I was trying to do in Gainesville. He gave me the time of day, so it's a lot more than I can say for other people in our government office and whatnot. So he served the city well, from what I know.
Oh yeah. And we've got people in South Hall that are in a ruckus now because Free Chapel's bought that land that TV show that Milton's property was filmed on. When they bought that, they bought it on the pretenses of supposed to be a retreat or a training center for deacons and preachers, or they were going to have a few summer camps out there. And now we're hearing that it's going to be a recording studio or a production facility. They're wanting to turn it into a production facility for Free Chapel. I mean, people don't know he's got churches all over the country.
Yeah.
Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, California. I mean, not just one in Georgia. I mean, he's got auditoriums built all over where people go and sit and watch the satellite services, and they're never going to pay taxes on that 21 acres or not even 20. They pay 21 million for that property. And one guy's property that's near the farm, his property taxes doubled almost this coming year after the farm was bought. And then you got the church down the road that's based out of Texas that everybody's claiming that it's a child sex ring, sex trafficking ring. And I don't know anything about the rumors. I'm not saying they are that. I'm just telling everybody that they're got all that tax-free property and all that stuff too. And the people of South Hall they're fit to be tied. The property owners in that area. And now Mark Turner's entered the picture.
For District
and
3.
He's married into the Casey Cagle family and the Siphon family. And he's a big big in with Franklin and the people at Free Chapel. And I don't think that's a coincidence, And I'm not saying he's not a good dude. I just know that it's going to be hard for when you got the power of that church and some of these families behind you. Are they tired of Cooper? Are they trying to get rid of her? Or is she pissed everybody off? I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah.
It's just
It's a lot of connecting the dots that we could be doing.
I mean, it's just this guy comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere. And I'm rooting for Corey. I hope he wins, and he's not in my district. I can't vote for him. I'm not endorsing anybody by any means, but he's the little guy here. And he's the only one that seems like he's in the race because he wants to make a difference. He's not he's not doing the bidding for everybody else.
Right. Yeah, he's not he doesn't seem like the puppet.
Yeah.
of any of these
And
people. So yeah.
And that's where we're getting at. And we got to get more people like Corey and Tyler Crawford and Shannon and all these other people involved, you know, to do things and get them in office, you know. And then you figure in all the land that the hospital has, Bernal has. That's just money that they don't pay taxes on none of that.
Must be nice.
You know, the city of Gainesville just basically gave the Mountain Center to Bernal. And the hospital, they buy up everything they can to keep North Side out of town because they don't want any competition. You know, and guess whose taxes go up when that happens? Ours.
Yep.
You know, that windfall's got to be made up somewhere. And, you know, and now we're fixing to get into this
It's
mess.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there, Chris. It's funny how much they push this SPLOST stuff, this 1%, but then they don't have the balls to go and tax the hospital on all their properties.
Yeah, no doubt.
Or Bernal, what? It's a state funded school, so like I don't understand how we benefit from Bernal not paying taxes or the healthcare Northeast Georgia not paying taxes on their properties.
Right. Well, Bernal's a private school, at least part of it is. I don't know about the university, but I think.
Well, there you go. I mean,
that still costs. I mean, even in state, it's like 40 grand to go there.
Yeah.
Or more.
That's what I'm saying, though. So how does that benefit the residents?
Yeah. No, and we're not saying get rid of Bernal or get rid of the hospital. No.
But them not paying taxes doesn't benefit us by any means. But then you're out begging for 1% SPLOST because it's going to help keep our property taxes down. But then you give these guys potentially millions of dollars in tax breaks and property tax breaks.
Yeah. Well, they do benefit us by the jobs they create and all that stuff, but
they're not going anywhere. You start
Property-wise,
taxing these people, what do you think they're going to do? They're not going to pack up and just go, oh, we're going to go move to Oakwood, or we're going to go move to Forsyth County, or Gwinnett.
And I get it. They shouldn't be getting tax breaks. I understand giving them some tax breaks, but they should not be tax free.
Yeah.
It's just like churches. When they allowed churches to get into politics and all that, they should have lost their tax free status.
I mean, because when you start talking about this because of the jobs that they create, so essentially it's an economic thing. Well, at the same time, the residents here provide majority of the economic activity in this county too. So why not completely get rid of their property taxes? And then a lot more people will be in favor of a SPLOST or of a higher sales tax. So basically a consumption tax, you know? So.
And then you got the hospital paying these travel nurses. They can pay them $150 an hour, but yet they don't pay the nurses that live locally anywhere near that. So a bunch of them go to North Side.
Yeah.
And drive to Atlanta.
The whole buying up real estate around just so that you don't have competition coming in. It's just like some of these tech companies where they buy out the little guys before they get too big to be a competitor. So I mean, and it's the entire healthcare industry as a whole in our country, not just in Hall County. It's not a Hall County specific problem, but as a whole in this entire country, it's just a giant cluster. So it's something that needs to be sorted out. And when you're forced, before Trump removed it in his first presidency, when you're forced to have healthcare insurance or pay a penalty like that, how does that make sense?
Exactly.
And now you can't even afford it because everything's tied to your job when it's premiums are crazy. So
and a lot of these people have to get insurance with a $10,000 deductible. That's not insurance.
I mean, most people, that's all they can afford is quote unquote catastrophic coverage, which is like $10,000, $15,000 deductibles, and you're still paying
the premium
$100 a month
and all your health care costs.
Yeah.
Except for, your physical and basic routine health care. It's tough. And, things have got to change. And I mean, you're looking at the hospital may do $3 billion worth of, generate that much industry and business a year in the Northeast Georgia, but how much do they take away?
Paying property taxes isn't going to make or break them.
No, not
right. Like that's yeah, because that's I don't care if they did $100 billion worth of economic activity.
Well, and the thing is, Northeast Georgia has been rated one of the most expensive hospitals in the South.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing. You look at your explanation of benefits when you go in there. Say go in there for a week or go to the ER and look at your explanation of benefits when your insurance company sends it to you. Look what the hospital charged, look what the insurance company allowed, and see what was paid. You just look at it like, what the is going on here? It's just crazy. Especially if you got parents on Medicare or something, how little Medicare pays these people.
Yeah.
How it pays the doctors and stuff. I mean, it's just baffling. And you see why all these doctors don't want to take Medicare. They don't get paid nothing. And it's all tied into the whole hospital tax breaks, and it's one big glob of,
corruption.
Yeah, corruption. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And then we want to bring this up. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but GMAS, which is a program and a company that does all your property valuations.
Yeah.
And it's baffling how anybody would use this. They don't even go out really and put boots on the ground. All they do is gather data.
It's like a under glorified Zestimate.
Yeah, all it is they look at all the properties that have sold in your area. Then they go to another demographic region in the country or so, and it's kind of similar to yours, and see what the property values are there. And they run it through an algorithm, and it pops out your property values. I mean, these are arbitrary numbers that have no nothing behind it. They've not looked at your property. They don't know what's on the inside. They don't know if you've made any improvements to the outside, if you've not made any improvements. And
I mean, it's just another reason to eliminate property taxes. You don't have the manpower to go visit each individual property and assess it for what it's actually worth, unless you're going to pay millions and millions of dollars to actual appraisers, licensed appraisers, to go and appraise every single piece of property.
Yeah, you do not have the manpower. And there's people out there raising Cain about wanting to audit all these people and all these properties. How are you going to pay for it? Even if just 12% of the people are committing fraud. Number one, how you going to prove it? How you going to pay for it? And how you going to collect the money?
Yeah.
It's going to cost you a hell of a lot more than you're ever going to collect. And I'm not saying let fraud and all that go. There's just a better way. There's a better way to doing it than we're doing it. But there's not a better way. You can't eliminate that stuff.
It's another burden on people. Like that's what the government is all about. Is to constantly put different burdens on folks to keep them occupied. Keep them occupied so badly that they're not paying attention to all the corruption that's going on. So it's I can keep getting away with this because I got them distracted doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The county's I've heard anywhere from 4 to 10 appraisers on the docket. I don't have a clue.
Yeah, but you go and talk. You can hardly ever go talk to any of these appraisers because they're always out in the field.
Yeah.
Whatever that means, they're always just out in the field. And because if you want to go and, hey, how'd you come up with this fair market value for my property? Oh, here's the list of comparables that we looked at. My house doesn't compare to any of these. It's its own unique piece of property. It's its own unique structure. So you're just, again, like you said, it's an arbitrary number that they come up with.
Yeah.
And when they have to defend it, whoa, nowhere to be found.
And I know they've been using third-party companies too, because I've had several people, friends of mine and people I've talked to because of this, saying that they found people snooping around their house. They're fixing to call the freaking cops or get their guns out after, to get the hell off my property.
Yeah.
They just go snooping around their house, don't even tell them they're there.
Yeah.
Why don't you pick up the freaking telephone and make an appointment? Because they don't.
No, I agree.
They just don't. They don't want the questions.
Yeah, because they don't have answers. They don't have legitimate answers, and
No.
and again, it's another reason to get rid of property taxes. And I'm getting to the point now where I would like openly call for people to just start boycotting their property taxes, because it's gotten that ridiculous.
And what could they do? They can't lock everybody up. They can't sell everybody's property on the. Well, if everybody, they could do like they did in the Great Depression or something, so they go take everybody's property. You come to an agreement, don't nobody bid on the property except for you, the person that owns it, and they can get their land back for like $10.
Yeah.
Or something.
Guess what? My land's worth $10 now. Gladly pay you the taxes on that.
Oh yeah, but you know what I'm getting at. That'd be great. And
yeah, I think we got too many greedy people in this world too for something like that to be as well organized and actually work. So
yeah, no, it's just enough's enough. And how something like GMAS ever got employed by or implemented anywhere.
Well, I'm sure there were some ties to some state political honchos that had a wife or a brother or sister or somebody that created this company and got all these state contracts. I think Forsyth County and like a couple other counties in the state don't use GMAT. They have their own system. But with Forsyth County though, that they could do that. They got a ton of money to have their own system. So
and it's like, and Gwinnett used to be a good county. Now they're just a dumpster fire all over. And if we don't watch it, Hall County is going to end up being like that. And and that's something we don't want.
Yeah.
And and right before we get off, we need to go over the data center real quick. And I've had several people contact me and say, how do we sign up for the meetings at the commissioner's office or to make comments? Well, they got a table sitting there, and you go there and you sign up and tell them you want to make public comments. And the people say, well, is that the place where they got the cops at? And it's actually marshals, that's just there. Just in case anything happens or anybody's got questions.
They're not there to intimidate you into not.
No, they're not there to intimidate, because every marshal I've ever dealt with, they're nice as can be. They're some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Just go over to the table and tell them you want to make public comments, and they'll tell you how it works. You got 10 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on how many's talking and what's going on. And if we get enough people wanting to comment, they'll eventually have like a lottery system where you put a number in a hat, and the numbers they draw out, that's the people that get to speak.
Yeah.
So, and because there's a lot of questions about this data center, the hidden hall, when that was just the people I've talked to, that was basically the developers. Not the developers. The hidden hall was the one, the former candidate for PSC. He was anti-data center, so you've got a bunch of skewed numbers from him and that whole group. Because, and I'm not pro-data center, I'm not anti-data center, but you got to have somewhere in the middle where you get real and legitimate numbers.
Yeah. And
it doesn't help that Amazon's been outed by totally lying about their water usage and things like that. But that's not everybody that builds data centers. If you
our corporation doing shady things, color me surprised.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. But there's a lot of pushback. People go through these pro green energy what's the pro green energy movement, the Green New Deal and whatever else that these Democrats spew out of their behinds. It doesn't work. Like
No.
I don't know how we're ever going to get people to completely understand that solar and wind and is there another one, or is this just those two that they
It's
kind of
just
like
it's basically solar and battery, you got
better? And like these things don't work because when there's no sun, your solar doesn't work.
if
When
there's
there's
no
no
wind,
wind, your
yeah,
windmill doesn't work. So like these green powers, they don't add. They're not a reliable source of energy for your base load, and data centers need base load. Like they run on base load power, meaning that they're running on that 100% 24/7 reliable power.
yeah,
And when you got these Democrats that are constantly on the other side of this, New Green Deal versus no New Green Deal, this is where I'm 100% with the Republicans, because you have to have reliable energy. And because we've been fighting this constant tug of war of this new green energy and solar and this and that, and I'm not saying all green energy is bad. Hydro is great. It's reliable. It adds to the base load. Nuclear is a
yeah,
great
nuclear,
green
yeah.
energy deal. I mean, it's not looked at as a green form, but it's a net zero emission
And
form
look
of
how,
energy creation.
and it's very, very safe. The only disasters we've had are because of neglect.
Yeah.
I
But I mean,
mean,
and that's the thing is, I don't know who's funding this whole new green thing, but at the end of the day, what ends up happening is this is going to create the further we push into this solar and wind, solar and wind, solar and wind, solar and wind. They're great to keep rates down, but again, they're not reliable. So when you have that volatility of supply and demand, that volatility also gets priced into your electric rate. So
well,
when we don't build enough base load, when we don't build and invest enough into our base load, which is nuclear or coal, dirty coal, but still coal or natural gas plants, or more hydro. And hydro you can only do at so many places. You can't just do hydro anywhere you want to.
right.
We can do we got an abundance of natural gas in this country that we could run natural gas plants, but guess what? Because of the EPA, the new green energy folks that constantly come up with this myth of, or this fear mongering, not a myth, but this fear mongering that anything that's not part of the new green deal, that's not solar or wind, is bad.
Right.
Yet they never speak about nuclear.
Then, yeah,
And it's set America as a whole back, I would say at least like 20 years
I'd say more
when it
than
comes to
that.
energy generation,
Yeah.
because China, in the meantime, has been constructing nuclear plants
They built
and
like
has,
30 nuclear plants in like 10 years or something. I mean, some
yeah,
stupid
and
number.
but they've I believe the numbers are right. They've completed like 50 or 60 in the last like 5 years,
Yeah.
and they still have another 100 plus under construction. So we're talking about 100 terawatt hours that China currently has in electrical power generation capacity versus like 20 in the entire country of the United States.
Yeah.
That's how far behind we are. And when people are talking about AI being this thing and this AI in this race for AI, there's a reason. In my, again, this is me being, putting my tin hat on and my conspiracy hat on, but there's a reason we're giving $40 billion to Argentina. Argentina has a crap load of baseload power because Argentina has one of the world's biggest dams that they share with Brazil and Paraguay that creates over a gigawatt of power. I think 2 or 3 gigawatts of power, which is very much the same as what we just turned online at Plant Vogel, which is about 2.4 gigawatts.
Right.
So when you have that much power that's untapped, they're going down there. They're giving these guys money. Hey, since we gave you that 40 billion, us bring OpenAI down here and build a bunch of data centers that we can power our AI farm. So that I'm completely against the bailout for Argentina, but I get it from a national security perspective and point of view, because we can't compete. You can't just
Yeah.
at the snap of a finger have 4 gigawatts of power. It takes 5 years, 10 years for stuff like that to come online, and we're so far behind.
Yeah, and what these people don't also tell you is all these solar panels and wind turbines and everything, unless you're on the ocean with constant wind, they have gas generators there. They're using fossil fuels to power
I mean,
this.
just the creation of solar panels, and they don't want to admit it. They don't want to talk about that. China's one of the biggest producers of solar panels, right?
And they don't even use
They
them.
use so much coal power to power their industries. So your green solar panels have such a big carbon footprint before they even get to you and start producing even a single watt of electricity.
Yeah.
Same thing with your windmills. The foundations of those things are steel, rebar, and cement. They're never going to make up for their carbon footprint. They're never going
In
to
20
produce.
years, how are we going to dispose of all that? You can't dispose of the solar panel.
Yeah.
You can't melt down the windmills.
There's no ways of doing that just yet. I would imagine they're going to come up with something eventually, but yes, to your point, there's no way to recycle the solar panels, any of the materials that go into them. I mean, some of the materials that go into these solar panels are so toxic. You can't even dump them in landfills.
No.
So they're just going out there, throwing them in the middle of a desert and burying them. So that's an environmental issue. Well, I mean, it's not an environmental issue at that point, though.
No.
It's
the only reason it's not
gas plants
the only reason it's not is because they're not in groundwater.
Yeah.
They don't get down to the water table.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I mean, this is what we got to deal with these data centers, and in the meeting we had Wednesday night from the owners, they didn't have any answers because
they don't. They're not going to have answers.
They don't have answers because they don't know who
the end user is
going to be.
Yep.
And I'm for it for the tax money, and it'll help us. But at the same time, we need to know what we're getting into.
Yeah, and I feel like eventually they might just have to pay property taxes either, Chris. They might not have to pay property taxes, so that's another burden on. But they do pay. I know it's like a misconception because I get all the tax abatements and the tax credits and whatever that these data centers get that are passed at the state level and whatnot. They have to pay a sales tax on the power that they use, and trust me when I say this, if that's approved, the county's going to be collecting so much. Let's say this gets approved, and in 5 and 6 years, whatever it takes, somebody buys it, AWS or Meta or whoever, one of the big boys buys it, and they actually develop the data center here. Just the power usage, that 4% that the county gets or 3% that the county gets is going to be an immense amount of tax revenue.
People don't understand that. And also, if I'm not mistaken, the state's already passed laws to where everyday consumers are not on the hook for any overage.
The PSC did. Yep, the PSC did. Anything over 100 megawatts. I don't think it's specific to just data centers either. Any industry,
yeah.
Any industry that needs that much power, you're going to pay for
to pay their own way.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not going to fall to the, but I do have fault with kind of the owners. They could have told us what Jackson EMC said, and they can say, everybody said, what people don't understand is Jackson EMC rents their lines from Georgia Power.
Yeah, I mean,
they can
did they not say that?
Huh?
Did they not say that?
Did they what?
I said, what did they not say about Jackson?
They would not. They didn't disclose. Jackson EMC or the owners wouldn't disclose anything other than the power grid can handle what's proposed. That's all they
Yeah,
say.
the grid can, and if they can't, Georgia Transmissions, again, they're going to have to pay for all the transmission line upgrades, upstream or downstream,
Yeah,
all of it. So it's, yeah.
they need to come out and say that instead of playing stupid.
But I feel like they don't know
No, they don't know. These
because
guys are just
they're not in this industry. This
they're just
this is a
developers.
real estate flip for them.
Yeah, they're just developers, and they're just. But if they've developed 3 or 4 of these before, they should know something.
Yeah. Have they though?
Exactly.
Have they developed it, or is it just something nice to put on their on their website? Pretend.
And these are questions we've got to have answers to. Is who brought the deal to them? Somebody brought it to them. If they just didn't decide one day, oh hell, let's build a data center in Hall County.
Yeah.
Who's behind it?
Well, this is it's a real estate deal. I say that with a lot of certainty. This is a quick. All right, let me get it rezoned and flipped, and it'll be on the market to the highest bid. And I've talked to my contacts at Georgia Power, and they put AWS, Meta, and these big boys. They don't want their face. They don't want their image being tarnished through these little communities. So they put it out there. Hey, if you're a developer, go find us land, go find us power, get it rezoned, and we'll come in and buy it from you. So that's
what's happening. I mean, what did the main other thing we need to know is what's the county getting out of it? I mean, they need to be up front, just like you mentioned, the overages and the sales tax on it and all that.
But Chris, here's the other thing too. I'll say with 110% confidence that Jackson EMC is not even going to be the service provider for these guys, because when you're over 900 kilowatts, which is not even a 1 megawatt project, and these guys are talking about 700 megawatts. When you're over let's just say round the number up to 1 megawatt, you have an option to do what's called electrical choice in this state, which is if there's no meter at the property that you're building on, you can have every utility in the state of Georgia send you a request for proposal, meaning they can
bid on the service.
Yeah, so they could have somebody from down South Georgia come up here and service them if that number makes sense for them to do so.
Right.
So you could potentially have a Beaufort City Electric come out and be the service folks for these guys and give them a crazy deal. Or you could have Oglethorpe Power. You could have Northeast Georgia EMC. You could have Georgia Power. So Jackson's not going to service these. None of these EMCs are cheap enough. Again, like you said, they rent all of majority of their high voltage transmission lines from Georgia Transmission Corp. So they don't own any of that. So they pay transmission charges just like we would.
Yeah.
And when you're on one of those highways, the cheapest person that's going to come out there and likely do it is Georgia Power.
Oh yeah.
So
they got the whole infrastructure. I mean,
Southern Company owns those lines. They essentially own Georgia Transmission Corp too. So
yeah.
And again, you would know this if you're in the actual industry of developing data centers. You have to know a little bit about the grid. You have to know a little bit about how the structures work. And I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I do have experience trying to do this, small data center projects myself. So, yeah, but I can see right through it, and I'm not against these guys making a buck, but at the same time, this, just for the sake of this podcast, please understand what you're opposing. The whole fear mongering of power rates going up because of data centers and stuff. 100% guarantee you that's not the case. That's coming from the overages at the nuclear facility. So again, Plant Vogtle, that ran almost like 10 years behind schedule and billions over budget. They're trying to recoup that money. They're still trying to recoup the money from the natural gas price when spiked from when Russia invaded Ukraine. Right. They're still trying to recover. And then on top of that, you got inflation. So the money that's being printed, so it's not just one. And Georgia Power has done a lot of shady stuff in the past. So I'm I'm not making them look out to be innocent by any means. So forgive me if that's what it comes off as.
Right.
But your rates aren't going up because of data centers. This is an easy scapegoat for the underinvestment in our baseload power over the last
And
2
our
4
infrastructure.
decades.
Yeah, and our infrastructure. I mean, and you got to look at all them nuclear plants, and the reason they're blaming it on that, the one Vogel just opened up, the over cost of that. But hell, that's just like you mentioned, it's inflation, and it's you know, why do you think Sanderdale Elementary went from 20 million to 50 million, or or 28 million to 50 million? At one point it was going to be like 80 million, and then it came back. The inflation came back down a little bit, and that's when they decided to go ahead. Hey, we got to pull the plug. Go ahead and get you. And it's that way in every industry. And people don't understand that. And the Southern Company, they're all over the South. It's not just Georgia Power. I mean, they are.
Well, Southern Company owns Georgia Power, so you got
they own Georgia Power.
You got Alabama Power.
Alabama Power. I mean, they're in several states. So, but for the sake of this data center here, you figure that these owners or these developers would have a few answers to try to quell the beast that's screaming at them, we're not going to approve this. We do not want it approved.
Yeah.
Or they may have a deal worked out behind the scenes where it don't really freaking matter. It's getting approved one way or the other.
No, it's just funny. I was listening to what's his name? Greg Poole. I guess that's is it in his district, right? Talking about AI porn, and we don't want any AI porn being made in Gainesville, Georgia, or Hawk County, Georgia. And I was like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, I understand your concerns, but that's where. And now he's wanting to go visit data centers in other parts of the state to kind of understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, these are the people that are voting for your future here in Hawk County.
And it's like all these idiots in the state voted against allowing underage people. Don't get me wrong, the intent of the law is good, and I'm not for children accessing porn on the internet. Let me get that out of the way to start with. But these states like Georgia and all these Bible Belt states banning it, all it's doing is causing these people to buy VPNs. They're still going to access it. You're not stopping anything.
Right.
You're not. You may feel good about yourself because a small percentage, and it all ties into the control thing,
Yeah. You're just giving more power to these people that are already
the morality police.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because it's not up to me to decide what's good for your family. It's up to me to decide what's good for my family.
Right.
And we were going to get into a couple other things, but we've been on here long enough tonight. There's a book that they're trying to ban in Hall County or wanting to get it banned, and
I think it's already been pulled.
Huh?
I said I think it's already been pulled.
Yeah, it's already been pulled, and it's over the slave trade in Hall County. I mean, not in Hall County, but in the world. And it's got some explicit scenes in it. And, my thought is I've done a lot of research on the book, and my thought is this is a topic that's going to get swept under the rug. Families are not going to talk about it because it's one of those things to where you don't think about it until it happens to you.
Yeah.
Or somebody you know. And I'm talking, it's happening in every town across this country at some point, the sex slave trade. I mean, it's just, they may not live in your town, but they may be coming to your town using the hotels or motels or, and you don't know it. I mean, it's just like these drug dealers are so smart now. You live in a $500,000 neighborhood with, white picket fence and dogs, and they're selling, and the dude's a meth dealer or something, or a fentanyl dealer. You just don't know. But when we start banning books, where does it stop? It's not up to me to tell you what your kid can read, what your son or daughter can read. And it's not up to you to decide for me. I mean, this is a family issue, and each family has different morals and restrictions. And, you know, my family let me watch rated R movies my whole life. My cousin, he couldn't watch them until he was like 16, you know, and we're best friends. I mean, that's a family decision, you know,
Right.
and I hate to see our school board and our citizens get into something like this. We've got bigger fish to fry than what's on the library bookshelves. You know, I don't like it, but we got, like I said, I mean, you can't pass morals as a politician. You stay out of the morals, let that be family matters. That's my
I
opinion.
think the issue here was that it was on the reading list though.
Yeah.
So in a way almost being forced by the schools onto the kids. So I think that's
But
where
the
the
reading list that my kids always had, they'd have 10 to 20 books, and they had to choose
sure, yeah,
5 out
absolutely.
of
Yeah.
them or
But
something.
I don't know if this was like a one of the have to read kind of type of
Right.
situation or not. I don't know the exact details. Um, but I think that's kind of where the complaint came from, or like
And every teacher I ever had, if your parents didn't like the book or didn't want you to read, they'd give you an alternate choice.
sure,
You know, and I get it to where now bullying's so bad in schools. Hell, these kids may not want an alternate choice because they can't participate in class discussions or whatever, like the rest of the people, or whatever. I mean, I don't know the particulars. We're going to dig into this a little more, but if it's already been pulled, I mean, where was
but
there wasn't any open discussions about it. There wasn't any thing sent out, let the public know about it. I mean,
yeah, and I think a lot of that it just happens to be because they don't want that
yeah,
public drama and unnecessary drama slash news publication eyes, because I mean people already hate the school
oh
board
yeah, they're
education
going to
because of
stop the
school
train wreck.
taxes.
Yeah, and that's what this is going to end up being, the train wreck.
Yeah, so it's better to just pull it, keep the unnecessary drama away from and a lot of the eyes of this, because a lot of people don't look at the school board as like an as an issue, even though they hate the school taxes, because a lot of people don't have kids in the school system yet they're still paying for
Yeah,
school taxes. So but it's just like, all right, as long as they're teaching kids whatever, but now you get a spotlight something like this on you, and you just spent $9 million on a farm, and then
yeah.
you're doing a lot of other things. Like it's a spotlight you don't want on you. So you know what? Let's just get rid of this book, and it'll look great for
Most
the
of the public, it's good
yeah
option.
yeah. It's good press, and so like, oh, these guys got rid of this book that has some explicit stuff in it that maybe kids shouldn't be reading. I mean, I hear about it and whatnot, and I'm immediately thinking, oh, that's probably a good thing. Immediate reaction is, oh, good for the school system. Maybe they got something right. But to your point, I agree.
It could
Your
save
family should be, yeah,
Yeah,
family
it
should be
could save
teaching
a
them.
kid's life. What if they run away from home or get caught on drugs or get hooked up and they notice that, God Almighty, this is the stuff I read about in that book.
Yeah,
It may ding it up
sure.
because their mom and daddy ain't going to talk to them about it.
Right,
99% of the parents aren't going to bring up sex trafficking to their kids.
right.
And that's my whole thing is these kids need to be educated anywhere they can get it.
Yeah,
And I'm not saying it's the school's job, but I'm just saying if they read a book out of the library, because the library's got thousands of books, is it really bad? I mean, and now, since they pulled it and don't want people to read it, these kids are gonna go out and read it anyway. They're gonna get it on their Kindle or something, or on their iPad and read it. It's just one of those things to where it snowballs, and it's the unintended consequence.
And I think, yeah, and I think that's exactly why the board probably decided to pull it, is just they didn't want that snowball effect for this to turn into something more than it really needed to be. So let's just nip it in the bud and be done with it.
Yeah, but when you get a board with that much power and that much control, and don't let it's a slippery slope. And
I mean, it was already there. That control and all that was already there. This isn't adding anything to them.
Yep. Well, all right. We'll be back tomorrow with Brandon Reed and do another podcast. We'll have this episode. I'll have it out tomorrow. This is Tuesday, the 28th. I'll have it out Wednesday, and then we'll have the Brandon Reed out Thursday. So hopefully everybody can hear it before they go cast their vote next Tuesday.
Yeah. Let's hope so.
Because election day, because Brazelton, if people don't realize that Brazelton's in 3 different counties, Hogg, Gwinnett, and Barrow. So they've kind of got a mishmash of different legislators, different this, different that. And it's probably not easy to be the mayor or on the council of that town, because you've got to deal with all counties got different rules. Gwinnett's got different. Barrow County. I remember when I used to play golf out at Chateau Lawn, we couldn't buy beer on certain holes on Sundays because they were in
Jackson County
or Barrow County that didn't have Sunday sales.
Yeah, that's funny.
I'm like, come on. The beer cart girl would just sit there before you got to the holes that you couldn't buy it on and tell you to go ahead and buy 2 or 3. She'd see us a few holes later.
That's hilarious.
Come on, man. So that's what you got to look at. I mean, and it can't be easy. And I'm glad. I think Brandon's probably around 40 years old or so. So he's a younger kid. It'll be good to get him in politics this early and maybe get a new voice out there.
Yeah.
There's 3 people running, and the top, if there's not 50%, the top 2 will go into a runoff. So we'll get him on here and let him give you his point of view, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, looking forward to talking to Brandon.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you for listening, and we will be back tomorrow.
See you guys.